What is it, son? You gonna be in the video? Okay. Hi guys, it's Maria, and maybe Jasper will make an appearance in a bit. I know it's been a while since I've posted a video. We moved, you may have noticed that, but the end of 2025 was just busy in a lot of ways, so videos were kind of put on the back burner for a second, but we've settled in for the most part for 2026, and I have a lot of really good video ideas that I want to make for y'all. So like I said before, if you're gonna make it, you can make it scrappy. And today I'm going to talk about 16 books I plan to read in 2026. Now, one of my big themes, like overarching themes for this year for myself, is using what we already have. And these 16 books are all from my bookshelf. I've had them, some of these I've had for years, some of these I just got recently, but I haven't read them yet. And before I get into other books or buy other books, I want to use what I already have on hand. And so there are 10 fiction books and 6 nonfiction books that, like I said, some of these I've had for years, some of these I've already started reading and then I just never finished it. Like they were put down for something else, and I want to finish these up because some of these I don't think I will keep once I finish reading them. Some of them I do think I will. Some of them I think I will go turn in for store credit, or I'll give to some of my friends as presents. We'll just see how it goes. So I made it one of my goals. I'm going to make this in another video. I'm going to talk about this in another video, but I made punch cards. Are they right in front of me? No. I did the thing where you make punch cards for your New Year's resolution. So like, because there's more, I want to take more action this year instead of just kind of vague things like I want to eat healthier and I want to work out more, or, you know, I want to expand my reading list or something like that. I want to take concrete action. So instead I've got read 10 fiction books. I can buy a new book or something. Read 10 nonfiction books. There are only 6 here. Read 10 nonfiction books. You can get a new book. Go to a workout class 10 times. You can buy a new workout set. I've got one that is nearly completed, but I made it have 20 coffees at home or from the apartment complex we live. Backstory. The apartment complex that we live at now has a clubhouse that's open every single morning. They like leave one of the doors open, and for the residents, because there's this big old espresso coffee maker that makes like 20 different kinds of coffee and different drinks and then like hot chocolate and an espresso and stuff like that. And it's not going to be as like fancy as going. I would love to go to a local coffee shop, but my rent is going towards that coffee machine. So I need to take advantage of that and use it and save money and also save resources by going there instead of driving all the way to the store, blah, blah, blah. I make a whole nother video about that. And I'm going to make another video about the punch cards and like going over everything in more detail. But today I want to go into the books that were already on my shelf that I want to read that just have been sitting there. So let's start with nonfiction books. Yeah, we're going to start with nonfiction books. The first nonfiction book is The Cooking Gene by Michael W. Twitty, which actually won the James Beard Award for Writing and Book of the Year. And It is a journey through African American culinary history in the Old South. And as you can see, I've started this book, but I haven't finished it. I do remember from what I started, I was already like incredibly enthralled by it. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this. The second nonfiction book that I want to read this year is the autobiography of Malcolm X. I've had it, I bought this like 2 years ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf, and I just haven't gotten to it. So I want to read this because I want to, when you're in school, at least, you know, in the public school system, and I'm from Tennessee, the public school system definitely has a certain narrative around civil rights leaders and, you know, whether they were good or bad. And so I am very much looking forward to this and learning more. Hi, Jasper. The third nonfiction book is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. I have read parts of this. I had to read parts of this for, actually, my food science degree. There are some classes where we had to read parts of it because if you don't know, it eventually led to like the first kind of food safety laws and kind of the overhaul of the system. But I know that that is just a smaller part of a much larger overarching story. So I want to get into this. Excited about this as well. I think I'm excited about most all of these books, but I've just got to get to them. So the next book, nonfiction, is Travels with Charlie in Search of America by Steinbeck. And as you can see, this is another book that I started reading and then I just set it down. I remember really enjoying it. I enjoy other Steinbeck books, so I think this will be fun. The fifth nonfiction book is Between the World and Me. Oh, I should have looked up how to pronounce this. Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think I butchered that, so I apologize. I'll put in an actual pronunciation, correct pronunciation. Hey guys, I'm editing and I 100% mispronounced that. It's Ta-Nehisi Coates. So this is my sign to myself that I need to make sure I can pronounce everything before I just start talking. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I've heard great things about this. I know it became very popular recently, and so I'm going to look. I do like the blurb on the back of this, which is from Toni Morrison. I like a lot of her work, and she compares this writing style to James Baldwin, and I very recently fell in love with James Baldwin, so I think this will be good. The next book is kind of a reread. I think I read most of this, but I think I was very much in a hurry. It is The French Chef in America, Julia Child's second act by Alex Prudhomme, who was the co-author of her book, My Life in France. I love Julia Childs. Y'all are gonna think this is stupid, but the first time I ever watched one of Julia Child's cooking episodes from her, famous TV show, on like PBS Masterpiece, which support PBS and public radio. The first time I watched it, I was literally tearing up because I was like, she's so good, and it was just kind of like the foundation of the modern cooking show, and like you can see that and you can see how she shines through. So this will be very good. I'm looking forward to it. Part 2. Okay, so those were the nonfiction books that I want to read. Now let's get to the fiction books that I want to read. And on the fiction books, a lot of these are considered like classics because my modus operandi is I will hear something as a classic and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to read that because I like to be able to engage in conversations. And there are some classics where, it's kind of ambiguous with modern life. Like you know the story even if you haven't read the story. And I am someone who I feel like I need to read the story to be able to engage with others, like talking about this. So several of these are classics that I just hadn't gotten around to yet, and they've been sitting on my shelf, and I was like, we're getting to them this year. Because, like I said, we're using up what we have. So, which way do I want to go? Let's go this way. The first one, I don't remember where I got this book. It says it's an old library book, so I don't know what it was withdrawn though. So I don't know what library. The Margaret May Fine Library, Princeton Day School. No clue how this ended up in my hands. But this is The Death of Evening Star, the diary of a young New England whaler, written and illustrated by Leonard Everett Fisher. Yeah. I haven't read this before. It's like a shorter book, and y'all can see, like, it's going to be a fast read. Technically, I think, how many pages is this? 125 pages. However, what is kind of like visually shocking about this book are some of the illustrations. Like, it's so well. I really love the illustrations in this book. And like I said, I haven't gotten around to reading it, but it's just looking at the pictures, I'm like, this feels like it's going to be intense. So this will probably be one of the first books I knock off the list. Looking forward to that. Second book I want to read, fiction, is Redwall by Brian Shuckes. I butchered that one as well. I'll put the correct pronunciation.
Hi, it's me again. Apparently it's Brian Jakes. And it makes sense only because he's British, so he pronounces it Jakes. That's how he says it. So,
another book that I started and I just didn't get through finishing it, but again, just from what little I read, felt incredible. And it's kind of it's a fandom that I've been very interested in because I've only heard good things about the entire series. So this is going to be fun as a starter. The third fiction book is Life of Pi by Yann Martel. Of course, I have the movie cover, but that's fine. Again, I feel like Life of Pi, the movie, got very popular and like everyone was talking about it, but I know that this is most definitely one of those stories that like there's a lot more context in the books, so this will be good. The next book is The Living Reed by Pearl S. Buck. A magnificent novel about Korea is what it says. I really enjoy Pearl S. Buck's The Good Earth. That book made me cry a lot. And so this has just been sitting on my shelf for like 5 years now. This will be good. I think y'all are gonna laugh at me about this one. The Call of the Wild by Jack London. I've never actually read this. I feel, again, this is one of those books that like everyone knows the story, so it's kind of ambiguous in like when you're talking to someone, another reader, you're just like, oh yeah, Call of the Wild, like you know what happens, but I've actually never read it, so I want to really know what happens. This will be good. I've said this will be good about every single one. You know, at least I'm self-aware. Right. This is Tales of a Korean Grandmother by, who is this? Francis Carpenter, which is not a very Korean sounding name, I will be honest. But apparently the author, it said, like, I think I looked it up. She has also written Tales of a Chinese Grandmother, and I think that, like, they lived in Korea, and that's how she gathered these folk tales. I enjoy folk tales. I feel like folk tales and, you know, hearing stories from your elders are, you know, that's just very, like, the bone marrow, if that, like, that is the stuff that, like, is so nourishing and is really what kind of makes a culture, is the folk tales and the traditions and belief around it. The seventh fiction book that I want to read. This has been on my, these have all been on my shelf for forever, but Faust Part 1. It's been here. I should probably read it. I feel okay about this. Like, I'll be honest, I'm not super looking forward to it, just because I don't think I really know what it's about. But figure it out. I'll report back. This book, the eighth fiction book I want to read this year, and I don't know if I'll read these in this order, probably not, but The Last Templar by Michael Jex, a medieval West Country mystery. So it's like a murder mystery, but set in 1316 England. And that sounds really fun. I enjoy a good murder mystery, and then also to add on top of that, like, historical elements. And if y'all remember from last year, I was on a very big medievalism kick. So this and Redwall will actually probably continue that medieval kick. So, yeah. The 9th fiction book I wish to read this year will technically be a reread, because I know I've read parts of it. I've read it before, but I really want to, like, read it and digest it and, like, sit and chew on it, you know, because it is one of my favorite stories. And continuing in this, like, medieval prehistory theme, this is Beowulf. And, you know, no real author. This is translated and introduced with an introduction by Burton Raphael. As you can see, I started it, hadn't finished it, so that's what I want to do. This will probably be a fast read for me, just because I really love the story. So I know that once I get into it, I just, like, sit and I read and read and read. It's kind of why I want to digest it better. So I might read this one twice before I actually count it as read. I don't know. We'll see. The last book from my bookshelf that I want to read this year is, the last fiction book, is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I really enjoy science fiction, and so, I don't know. This book might have been stolen from a library. I don't know for sure. Oh well. So I really love time fiction. I really love science fiction, and this is, you know, one of the founding novels in science fiction, I believe. So, but I haven't read it. This is, you know, very much the theme. Like, they're books. These are like classics, and like everyone talks about them, and they're so great. And I just haven't read them yet. So I want to get to it. So those, I think this is where I'll leave y'all. Those were the 16 books from my bookshelf that I want to read before the year is out. I have a bunch of really good ideas for videos. One which will center around this sweater I'm wearing. So you'll have to just watch for that. Bye, guys.